I'm late as usual, and I'm still adjusting this little thing here. I'm gonna turn this light down because I don't really need a bright light. You don't need to see my ugly mug anyway. Come on. There we go. A little bit of adjustment goes a long way in this world. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, physically, otherwise. Get my glasses off here. Or my glasses on, depending if I'm reading comments. And I haven't done a live cast in, who knows, probably been a damn month by now. I completely have lost track of any of my prior intentions for this channel. In the sense of doing it and turning it into some sort of a money-making platform, or, you know. uh, I've always done this because I enjoy it, and so I've wanted to keep it that way. So when I do a live cast, it's on my own time, and I apologize that I don't make them more publicly known ahead of time, because a lot of people wonder, when are you going to do a live cast? And then when I do one, they're all bummed because they missed it because I didn't announce it. So, hello to anyone who's here, the two people, and I appreciate you coming. I'm going to crack a brew here. It's just root beer. Just a root beer. I swear it's only root beer. So I have gone through some mental gymnastics in my life to try to navigate this world with a smile on my face. I have had to convince myself that people are not all stupid, that the world is full of amazing people. Some of the things I've been to, the events I've been to, the people I've met have shown me that there is a side to this society that is completely worth cherishing and protecting, in the sense that people are good. I really believe that. And I made a video earlier. I haven't made it. It's still unlisted. I usually list them later because they process and whatnot. But it's about that old saying that the saying goes something under the lines of never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. And my thoughts on that were, never has this become more pronounced than during the age of the internet. And complete morons can appear to be gurus these days. I mean, there are people out there who literally don robes and carry crystals, usually white guys with ponytails and white hair. It's weird. I don't know. There's kind of this thing with the Western shaman, if you will. And I wanted to get into this topic about shamanism. It's kind of like anybody who calls themselves a nice person, be suspicious, right? I mean, yeah, we're all nice people, but you don't have to say that. It's something that other people say about you. Or you're a good person, that kind of stuff. But it's the same way with saying, I'm a shaman. You know, anybody who claims to be a shaman, unless they're of some traditional native descent where within their clan and society they are literally a shaman. In the Western world, all you have to do is dress funny and sit around and do some yoga poses, and you got people. You got people under your wing here. What's going on with this thing? Okay, it is still going live. Okay, I wasn't sure. I wanted to say hello to HRC. You know, Hot Retarded Chicks, I always short your name to HRC. So you're like Hillary Clinton to me. I love you, man. Hello, KC. Hello, Jimbo. And hello, Tony. It's great to see you all. So it's not showing me, I guess, how many people are even watching, which is weird. But hopefully, leave me a comment if it's not working, if there's some issue with the video. Because usually it'll show me, what the heck's going on here? Oh, here we go. I have a pad so I can look at this on the side. Believe me, I won't be distracted for too long, I promise. Kind of smoky out. Alright, we good. Jimbo says we online. Alright, good. Appreciate y'all. See, I can watch myself. And I only do this because then I don't have to sit there and squint at the comments on there. So, KC says you're like 1.5 hours from me. I'm sure it was smoky. Oh, yeah, I did see a haze moving in a few hours ago after the clear day. I just assumed it was clouds because I heard there'd be thunderstorms out east. But yeah, there's a lot of wildfire smoke coming down from Canada right now. So to get back to my discussion here, this has been a long time coming, talking about something that I talk about all the time. Let me try to reiterate that or revamp that in a different way. Um, of all of the topics that I discuss on my channel, there are these central themes that I touch on consistently. And there are things that bother me or things that are concerning to me. Like, and I want to talk about certain topics. For example, I wanted to make a video earlier about copyright, and I just couldn't do it because it just seemed so trivial and stupid. Like, I don't want to cover something that's just been beaten into the ground, even though I do it all the time. But there, put it this way, I want to talk about topics that can endure the test of time. And there's a reason for this, and I've tried to be conscientious of this. If I make a video talking about our collective psychosis, or like this live cast, which is talking about, are we losing our minds, which I'm going to get into here. And the answer is yes. But all of the topics that I discuss end up kind of circling that theme of life and philosophy, things that we can carry with us. And that, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, and I know I can sound arrogant. I want people to know that inside I'm critical of myself. I have self-doubts. I have imposter syndrome. Sometimes I don't make a video because I feel stupid. Other days I'm feeling really cocky and I make a whole bunch. And then I upload them all, and then I never make them public. Sometimes I'll only make them public just for patrons because I know that they already know I'm full of shit and they're willing to, donate. So at least make the video public to someone. But a lot of the time I just can't do it. I think back and feel stupid about a video I made 10 minutes before. And this is often when it's an important topic. But here's the catch. When I do a video that I'm reluctant to share, and I finally do share it, sometimes it could be a video I made a couple weeks before, and I'll just make it public finally. And somebody will leave a comment saying, dude, this is the video I needed today. Thank you. I was feeling down, and this really helped me. I want to make it sound this very clear. That is what continues to drive me on this channel, to make videos and do live casts. It's not the monetary value. I have no sponsors. I get no ad revenue. I turned on monetization on these podcasts or these live casts specifically so people could make donations if they wanted to. But I know that puts an ad before it. And I always think if there's an ad before one of my videos, people will notice. It will seem, I guess, like bullshit. And this was the topic I wanted really to get into about YouTubers and selling you plots of land in Scotland or Masterworks where you can, buy part of a painting. Everybody's seen the various ads that YouTubers do, the sponsorship deals. But what a lot of people don't people know that you can pick your sponsors. You don't have to take somebody's money and talk about their product, but people do it. And coincidentally, last night I was thinking about this topic heavily. I was like, why do people who have a great philosophic insight on life and then it cuts to a commercial from Exxon or something? Or maybe it's an environmental, documentary about protecting against, land damage. Then these companies that do the very damage go and post ads. And people would say, well, you can't choose who advertise. Yeah, you can. You can actually go into your settings and choose. And I watched this YouTuber who was saying, yeah, he went through and he was able to actually turn off big oil ads, any ads he wanted. But a lot of people, they're willing to compromise their integrity for a buck. And that's what I mean about losing our minds, in the sense of there are many different ways that society is going downhill. But one thing that's being lost is authenticity. And I'm not old man complaining about the good old days, but the good old days of YouTube back in 2009 or 10. Yeah, I think it started in 2007, but YouTube was really at its fucking prime in like 2010 to 2012, in my opinion. You could access so much weird shit. And then you could find people. We had these group chats and people could actually leave video responses. I know a lot of people don't remember that, but you could like make a video responding to a video and then post it in the comments and so other people could see your response to that video. This is what helped to develop a lot of these communities. But the whole time, here's the point. Everyone was doing it for free. If they wanted to sell something, they had some brand or something they created on their own, or they would say, oh, by the way, I sell these to try to fund my efforts. But most people, 90% of the channels and people just did it because they liked posting videos on YouTube. Now we have super polished and honed in videos that just represent what we had on television decades ago. But these are individuals. At least you could see through the bullshit of ads on your TV. But these are people that folks trust. It's that parasocial relationship. Somebody who you consider trustworthy, if they're selling you a VPN, you might believe they know what they're talking about. Or a bald guy selling you the Dollar Shave Club. I guess you gotta shave your head if you're bald anyway. Yeah, that one doesn't work. And the point is, I'm not hating on people making money at all. I'm not hating on people's need to survive and thrive even. The problem I see is the greed. And as I said, the video I made earlier was about stupidity, and don't hold it past stupid people in groups. The internet's allowed that to flourish, but it's a three-part strategy. There's ignorance, there's stupidity, and there is greed. And these three things are destroying our society. And you could name a million other things, but these three things specifically, because the greedy are able to convince the stupid that that what they're saying is true, and the ignorant are a problem because they're not stupid. They're being willfully ignorant. I'm talking about ignorant by definition. You are ignoring the facts, and that to me is something I think folks really need to consider. That's weird. I don't know why my phone's not giving me any of these messages. Let me see if I can turn it around. Oh, you can flip it around to film the other side while you're live. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. I'm so non-tech savvy. I really don't. I don't do well in the internet era. That sounds stupid, but so anyway, I'm going back to my live chat on here so I can see what's going on. Maybe it's not even going anymore. Oh, it says it is. Okay. But for some reason, I just can't get to live chat. Live chat has moved. Okay, here we go. All right. I think it's still working. Jackass Whiskey says, just to get pity money. All right, yeah, this is working. All right, good. KC said, but it's getting harder for people to make a living now from it. Yes, it is. It's as far as YouTube, if that's what you mean. And it should be. And there's a reason for this. You see, we're too obsessed with production quality, but not just production quality like of a video, but us, our production. How hard are we working? You hear these guys justify, we have a whole team of editors and people, and they'll show you the process of making the video and look at all these different clips and all the music and all the things we have to license. And then you watch the video and you close your eyes, ignore all the graphics, and you find the takeaway is absolutely fucking nothing. It's just another, garbage clickbait title page. I've heard YouTubers really kind of, they've been tripping over this because it's, there was the ad apocalypse, right? Where that's what YouTubers called it, where they weren't able to get their ad revenue anymore. And I thought that was always kind of funny because really, you could still get ads. It's just that certain companies didn't want to work with you if you were talking about certain topics. I considered that complete freedom of a company to not work with somebody who's has just a prank channel, right? And all they do is harass people. Those kinds of channels, the prank channels, I remember hearing a story about a kid who was going up and pranking people with a knife. And apparently just saying, oh, it's just a prank. And I guess he got shot. I'm like, well, of course he got shot. I mean, Jesus Christ. But now I can't get my comments at all. And that's good. That'll just keep me from getting distracted by what's going on here. But I like to get people's responses to these things because we're all in this together, folks. Any of you who are willing to join my conversation here and sit and listen to what I have to say, you're appreciated. And I guess I still can't get to the comments. It's so weird. Something wrong with my phone. My phone's been really crapping out lately, so I'm not surprised. And looks like my internet connection's taking a shit here too. But see, getting distracted by technology while I'm using technology to convey my thoughts about technology. So I've got this stack of cards. I just realized it was in a drawer somewhere here. This wasn't planned for the video. I'm just going to flip through them. These were all jokes from an earlier video I made like 2 years ago, and I was cleaning up and I found them. Next best thing. What is the next best thing? Next best thing is basically our obsession with always wanting to move on to the next thing. And I'm going to tell you, I am so guilty of this. A good example, you might go on an afternoon drive and enjoy it and see the scenery. On the other hand, you might be traveling to a place that's a couple hours away. In that case, you're not just on a drive. You're going somewhere. So you will miss the scenery because you'll be distracted by your destination. But if your destination is wherever you're at, that's something to cherish. And to remember, the next best thing is our willingness to always look for something better and greater. And what I've seen in, this was a joke that some friends and I at a Dead show I think at the Gorge Amphitheater in the Columbia Gorge, out in the parking lot, we were all tripping on acid, and my buddy and I started talking and came up with this idea of the next best thing. I said something about, it's the next best thing. You always got to get the next thing. It was like we just cracked up about it. And to this day, I consistently think about that next best thing mentality. Get the new iPhone, get a better car, move up to a better house, like size for the sake of size, price for the sake of price. I'm not saying a family who expands that needs to get a larger home. I'm saying, oh, now we're making more money, let's get a mansion, or let me buy a car that costs half of my yearly income to pay for. People are dumb, and they spend their money on stupid shit. But there's always a company willing to sell you that shit. Therefore, the next best thing is always waiting for you. What do we got next? Good is subjective. This is fun because I don't even know what these say. At least it gives me topics while I'm waiting for my internet to come back here. Good is subjective. A lot of folks do realize that the word good is very similar to God and is very in line with the word God. And a lot of people will talk about the etymology of the words. Forget all that. But I always think about that connection. And then I always think, well, good is subjective depending on which culture you're in. Therefore, God is subjective depending on which culture you're in. And it's all one and the same. Good and God. Good God. Good God. Anyway, moving on. Good being subjective, to me, does not exclude basic morality. It doesn't allow people to go out and murder and pillage. But I believe that very few people do cause harm to others just for the sake of causing harm to others. And a vast majority of people who, slight others, whether it's a robbery or a beating, it has more to do with an emotional state or somebody's wants and needs, or back to the greed. People break into stores and they mug people for money. They might not even need the money, but they do it because they're assholes. And it gives us this idea that there is a sense of good and evil, that the evil are the bad guys who are out there on the streets at night robbing your shit. Believe me, I've had my car stolen from my driveway. I've had shit stolen out of my front yard. We bought my kid a brand new trike, one of those spin out trikes. Fucker stole it within a couple of weeks. Just drove up with a pickup at 5 in the morning and just drove away with it. We even saw the guy driving by, didn't realize, what a coincidence, he has one of those in there. And then realized, it dawned on my wife that, oh, that was probably ours, and he was long gone. I hate thieves. I hate liars. I hate cheaters. But ultimately, many of these attitudes derive from abuse and prior circumstances that we cannot quite understand or comprehend. But I think, as far as the individual, but that we've all faced many times ourselves, that we know we could have fallen into a pit of despair. We know we could have fucked ourselves over at any time in history by making one wrong fucking decision. Just think about it. If you're doing somewhat well in your life and you even have a home and a shelter, you could have taken one wrong turn. Whether it be trying dope, whether it be moving to a different location, or staying with somebody who's toxic as shit. And we all have to go through that kind of thought process of, are the decisions I made in life helping me? And so good being subjective really does come down to just not harming others. There's in the simplest terms, not harming others or the world we live in, and just doing our best is often the best we can do. What do we got next? Speak your truth. Oh boy, do I do that one. I've been speaking my truth from day one. I'm going to talk about my truth for a second. I just want to say hello to the comments here and just flip back through. As people are leaving comments, I probably can't keep up with it, but thank you, Lonnie. He says, it seems like every time I watch one of your videos, it's one I needed to see at the time. You're like my therapist. Thank you so much. I want to make it clear that will not go to my head. I don't want to be anyone's therapist. In fact, that's a discussion. Please remind me later about psychedelic and psilocybin therapy. Right now, the first psilocybin therapy center opened down in Eugene, Oregon. And you wouldn't believe what they're fucking charging for psychedelic therapy. But on a side note, that's a side note, but I want to help people. Last time I was tripping with my wife and some friends, I said, it's just one of my things. I want to be able to help people. I would love to be a counselor or to walk people through psychedelic trips. Basically like a trip sitter to help people through their journeys. I looked at what they were. I said, God, people are hard to deal with. I'd have to charge at least $500 for something like that. And then I looked at this article just yesterday. They're charging $600 for a 2-hour microdose meeting where you go and you take a microdose and they talk to you about psychedelics and you leave. $600. But for a 6-hour, so you go into the clinic and you get what they call a hero dose, which I don't know if they're using McKenna version here, but that would be 5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms, or on par with that. And then they sit with you for 6 hours and walk you through the experience. How much do you think somebody would charge to a person in cash? Because insurance wouldn't cover that. Psychedelic therapy, one of the most amazing things. You don't need a therapist online if you've got psychedelics, but you do need people to help walk you through it. $3,500 fucking dollars. $3,500. And that, my friends, is why I don't believe in legalization, and why I really wasn't a big fan of legalization of cannabis either. I believe in decriminalization. Leave it alone. Don't do anything with it. Don't put fines on it. Don't put fees on it. Don't put taxes on it. But honestly, that was the only way we were going to get weed legal, and it's going to be the only way we're going to get psychedelics legal. Which, by the way, psychedelics, you might hear the conspiracy that psychedelics were made illegal because of the anti-war protesters and And that was actually true. It's one of the conspiracies in history that actually is well known that the Nixon administration and before him, they'd been worried about Americans that were resistant to what the military was doing, and pacifying the nation was important, but especially those damn hippies. And so cut off their drug supply, and yeah, the rest is history. It's a crazy story, but rambling on. Thanks, Lonnie. I appreciate that, and I'll always try to help people if I can. Um, Never verbally started. I watch good creators. Joe Rogan, the computer guy. Oh yeah, I like Eli, and I like Joe Rogan as well. I'm not a computer nerd, but I know Eli, the computer guy. He's got some good info. All right, partly due. Okay, I'm gonna try to flip through everything. Well, thank you, Jackass, for the $10. I'm gonna say namaste. I really appreciate your donation. Jackass says, "Live simply, live below your means. Thank you, Lord, for bringing Gracie into my life." You know, that's a beautiful sentiment. I I totally agree with you. Live below your means. Any money that I've made in the past, I ended up spending on my teeth when I had to get my teeth fixed or something else. Like, money is just flow, it comes and goes. But anytime I have some extra, I put it away. And I don't put it away to, you know, to hoard it, and I don't put it away to buy some big fancy thing I want. I put it away for a rainy day, but also because I would feel more confident in life. If I was one of those dudes who had millions of dollars, I would definitely move into the farmhouse. I've been wanting to get a farmhouse with land, but I want a small house, not a mansion. I don't want something fancy. I just want some acreage where I can go out on my back porch naked if I choose and walk around and enjoy and have some trails. That's not too much to ask, but that's my dream. A lot of people don't have that dream. They want to live in the city, and that's fine. But beyond that, that's all I'd do. I wouldn't buy a fancy car. I wouldn't buy a big ass truck or boats. I mean, sure, toys are fun, but it's really just about being who you are. This comes down to, like, there's a great channel called Wisecrack, and I don't know if y'all have seen it, but they've got a couple million subscribers, I think. So he's been around a while. I think his name is Michael Burns, I think, is the host. But he's a philosopher, but he always wears a ball cap and like tie dyes and shit. So when I see clips from it, I'd be like, ah, yeah, whatever. He's just another YouTuber dude. But I started watching it, thinking it was like a company or something at first, and then the more I watched it, I'm like, this guy is a great philosopher. He's a deadhead. He's always wearing dead shirts, and just talking about life in general. And they've done some great videos on so many topics like this, but about commodification of everything, about how everything has to be about money and profit. And that's part of why we're losing our minds. That's the whole really premise of why I wanted to do this live cast. And the root of, I think, a lot of the problems we have is this need for greed. And it rubs off on people. Like, there are guys like Jake Paul, the Paul brothers. They are the perfect example, the epitome of what is wrong with the kids today, right? Kids look up to these guys. I have two teenage sons. My oldest son is 28. He's grown into a awesome, awesome man, and he understands bullshit. He understands propaganda. He sees through the illusions and bullshit of society. He has had the mental experiences, and he has the fortitude to see through people's bullshit. He's got his human issues like everyone else, but he's wise, and that's all I can ask my kids to be. My younger kids, who are 10 and 13, they're pretty damn smart too, for their own age. However, my youngest watches some of these YouTubers that just spit garbage and spew nonsense. And, the kids that go out and do pranks. And I was explaining to him, we were just eating dinner, and I was explaining to him how, I said, I'm not trying to berate or insult what you like. I was like, I respect the fact that you enjoy these things, and I know you're young. However, I'm just trying to make you aware that many of these things are just done for clicks and views, and there's nothing worse than prank videos. And he's like, I like prank videos. And then I told him the story about the kid who the knife prank video, and just said it can go too far. You know, people can push their limits. They can, and yeah, these things are covered quite in depth on Charlie's channel and Penguins. He's got this thing about like internet drama. It was hilarious. He was talking about this guy that went to the beach and he was hitting on women in front of their men and trying to get a reaction for TikTok. And one guy just walked up and grabbed his like $600 microphone and just threw it in the ocean. So he puts on this mock like, oh no, my microphone. But then he calls the cops and actually has the cops come to the beach and like try to deal with it. And he got what he deserved. You know, don't fuck with people for views. It's just dumb. So anyhow, yeah. Hello, Adam S. It's good to see you, my friend. It's really good to see you. Jack S. says, Carpo, I took a wrong turn very young. I should have been dead or have much worse, killed others. I do believe that God saved me and others. I was an idiot. You might, me too, brother. I mean, I think we all see ourselves as idiots when we were young, but I've made my own mistakes. I never harmed anyone, but yeah, I broke into a couple of cars to steal some tapes. Actually, I never broke a window, but I remember opening up somebody's car and stealing a bunch of cassette tapes. It was the 80s. And we ran off. They were a bunch of drunk teenagers drinking on the bridge, I guess. Another time we broke into this place called the Little Old Hare House. And now as an adult, we realized it was like a little old whorehouse, but it was a hair house and it was a place. And they'd shut down, but we broke the window, grabbed a fire extinguisher, went down to the train tracks and waited for the train to come by and sprayed the train with, you know, the fire extinguisher. We used to make, I don't want to incriminate myself, but let's just say we were very handy with making things with our hands. And we made some loud noises down by the train bridge and got in the newspaper for supposedly somebody thought dynamite was being set off down there. I don't know who could have done that. I almost blew my face off twice. My hand went totally numb. I had powder burns all down my front. I mean, thinking back to the stupid fucking shit I did when I was a kid. Nobody should put themselves down for the crap that they did when they were young. But it's really hard to think, where would I be if I hadn't wisened up? And let me tell you, it was psychedelics that really helped to get me there. It's not like overnight I took acid and I knew myself in the world. Not at all. I took it for fun, like everybody does the first time. And then all of a sudden, I had this epiphany that the world was not what I thought it was. That the universe might actually have a deeper understanding of me than I could ever possibly have about it. And that we are all truly connected and one. Shortly after my psychedelic endeavors, I discovered the Grateful Dead, and next thing you know, I am down in Eugene at my first Dead show in 92 or 93, and the rest is history. I saw a purple haze over the crowd, I met hippies, I made connections and contacts, and discovered psychedelia. And that changed my life. And, you know, it becomes almost tacky these days because psychedelics have become such a commodity now. As I said, legalization is not the right approach. Decriminalization, backtracking and saying, wait, we're just going to stop the law we had, right? This is totally different than legalization. So you support legalization with regulation. I have even friends and people I know who have taken psychedelics, and they're well aware of what they are. And they'll say, well, I think it would be better if they were regulated by, you know, pharmaceutical companies or the government so we can make sure that people are safe. No. Fuck no. No, I don't agree with anybody on that shit. You let pharma regulate psychedelics, it's over. But the beauty is, anybody can still order spores and grow mushrooms at home. It is very easy. Because I know a lot of people have said, oh, I live in a state that's very intolerant. I mean, it's fine. Just order some spores and grow your own. You've got to make a couple connections. Go onto the Shroomery. I think the Shroomery is still there, .org. Way back in the day, I was a big fan of Arrowhead, which was the greatest educational hub. And by the way, the shirt I'm wearing, Drug Geek, that's from Arrowhead, as you can see. And I would sponsor, if rather they would send out, back in the early days of the internet, Arrowwood was the only place to get psychedelic information. So they would email their subscribers and people who used it and say, could you please donate? It's one of the only websites that I've ever donated to, not just once, but twice, years apart. And I've got, each time you would give a $50 or more donation, you'd get a t-shirt and a sticker or something and a little certificate. And that, of course, was an incentive, but I also wanted to support for all the beautiful information that I had obtained over the years about different drugs, understanding N-Bohm and 2CB and ketamine and all these different substances, and being able to read trip reports where people had been through this. And I know psychedelics are a totally different subject, but they're not. They completely to the whole discussion I wanted to have about people losing their minds. Psychedelics are a way for society to pull back from that, a way for people to see each other for who they truly are. Everyone's awkward, and that's okay. At least that's my opinion. Yeah, Nemesis. Good to see you. So homemade fireworks. Homemade fireworks? I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. KC says they had DXM. Yeah, I believe DXM is dextromethorphan, if that's the proper pronunciation, and that is what's found in like cough syrups, and it's more of a dissociative trip, I believe, from what I understand. But I've never done it. I think that's the same as robo tripping from Robitussin. It was never my thing. It was kind of like a dirty high that none of us wanted to try. The same reason I never tried MDMA until I was in my like mid 20s. In fact, I took, I'm not going to say how young I was when I first tried LSD, but as I got older, it was at least over a decade before I tried MDMA, not because of no access, but because I went to my friend's house one night and he was rolling hard. He'd taken a couple of the tabs. Ecstasy used to come in tablets, still does, of course, but I, since I discovered it, will only buy pure MDMA in its crystal form. I don't deal with shitty cut powders or pills, pressed pills that have, symbols or designs because they're always mixed with speed or something else. Very cautious. I want to say all the psychedelics, anything you take, you have to have a test kit. You have to be smart. You have to be aware of what you're doing. Be safe out there. But generally, it's not that big of a deal. Psychedelics aren't generally laced with anything, at least not LSD. Not that it couldn't be done, but it's always been one of those kind of ridiculous fears. But you still have to test for fentanyl and everything else these days. So, Casey gets anxiety from weed. Yeah, so do I if I take too much. Um, Sometimes I just get tired. Sometimes I get anxiety. The thing that's going to give you anxiety is either smoking hash or taking edibles. I have a hash pen in there that I took, or got like a few weeks ago. The little cartridge, and I only hit it once in a while, and it's usually like when I'm at work or on the go, and I just want a quick toke, but I don't have a pipe ready, hit it, and I'm done. Or take it into a concert, or a motel, or to an event, so you don't have to be, you can be a little more discreet, and believe me, when I was a kid, this would have been the dream, to have a silent digital pipe. It's something we dreamed of, but but if you smoke too much, consume too much, you'll get anxious. I mean, right now I've got this Gorilla Glue. Oh, Gorilla Glue number 4. It's one of my favorite strains. It makes me too tired. I have to be really careful. I'm very wary about how much I consume, and yeah, too much cannabis can make you paranoid. Too many psychedelics can also do the same thing, and they can give people apophenia and pareidolia, which is basically seeing patterns that don't exist. This is the root of psychedelic experience, is seeing patterns. And, this can actually be seen in people who are conspiracy theorists, extreme ones who draw a lot of dots and connect, cue up the picture of the guy from Sunny in Philadelphia sitting in the room with all the connected dots. You know what I'm talking about. It's, we got to think rationally. We have to be able to look at things rationally. And if you take too many psychedelics or take too many drugs of any kind, it's going to inhibit your ability to actually see things clearly. But if you can moderate and use them at the right times and the right doses, then they can be an amazing breakthrough in awareness. This is why I'm a supporter of people using psychedelics sparingly, but in larger doses rather than just microdosing. But I have heard microdosing does seem to help a lot of people, and I think that's great. But it's hard to tell what's placebo and what's not. And when you go into a really deep mushroom trip and you come out of it, there's no doubting the experience you've had. There's no questioning it. It's there. You had that experience, it was real, and you will carry that with you. Because to me, 90% of the benefit from psychedelics comes from the experience itself. I should say, sorry, 10% of the benefit comes from the experience itself, and 90% of it comes from the day after or the week after, when I'm able to process and assimilate the things that I've obtained. Of course, if you just take acid and go to a party, you're not going to gain any insight. But when you lay back with friends and you talk about life in the universe, the connections, which you can't really resist doing, I guess I can't assume that everyone else has the same experience. But from my experience, everyone has had the same experience. And it's pretty consistent. What do we got? Let's say, yeah, that shit can be stand. You mean salvia? Adams Pepe Sylvia? Dude, salvia fucked me up. Jason says, weed makes me too paranoid, gives me back anxiety, and the resin I put on my tongue from dispensary helps a little better. If you have anxiety from cannabis, I would try a CBD blend, because that can actually moderate the effects, but not as much as a lot of people say. Holy shit, Jackass Whiskey. You've already donated. You don't have to donate again. I really appreciate it. Says, my brother-in-law visited yesterday. A good man. My sister met him doing missionary work in China. There are good people in this world. We talked about a trust for his children with the money I've made by investing. Well, that's fucking awesome. And you know, if I had any money, that's what I would want to do with it too. Like, especially if you have like a residual income and you're able to split it and help other people. I don't know. Speaking of money, it's like one of those things where I've always thought, would I be a good candidate to have $1 million or $10 million? Would I be able to properly, handle that? Or would I even want to? It's weird because I'm living in a world where most of the people around me are looking to just move up the ladder, bigger and better, new things. As I said, that goes back to these little cards we were on, the next best thing, right? It's hard not to get sucked into that. What brings us the most satisfaction is doing things for other people, as small as they may be. And I get the most satisfaction when I help other people. But sometimes I have a hard time doing it, even when I want to. To give you an example, I have a neighbor down the street who got stabbed 12 times the other day. My other neighbor sent me a GoFundMe for him, and I actually was going to go donate, but I really have been thinking about just dropping off $100 and a little project. He collects metal. He's the metal guy on the street. He's got this big side gates on his pickup. It says "Got metal" with a question mark with his number. Now they have a sign out front: "Please do not drop off metal." He's out of the hospital and back home. And I've known him, Roger is his name, and we've talked back and forth. We had a little falling out when he kind of like joked about me thinking I'm Jesus or something about you, Jesus, on your podcast. I guess he'd seen my channel. He got upset with me because I didn't tell him my car got stolen. As if, like, I need to go knock on every neighbor's door and tell them, to be aware. And I am not the kind of person who puts up with bullshit. So I haven't really talked with him in a while. Like, I feel like he hates me. But as soon as I heard he got stabbed, I'm like, all that melts away. You don't give a fuck. I don't care if the guy hates me or not. I'm still going to fucking try to help him out, because that's what neighbors do. That's what people do. But as I said, there's part of me that it's hard to do. It almost feels, even though it's sincere, it feels insincere. I feel awkward going over and knocking on their door. But the point was, I wanted to make him a little pickup truck, a metal, like maybe something out of wood, and then put metal in the back, maybe glue it in or something, and something unique, like I have these ideas. The point I'm getting at here, besides the fact my neighbor got stabbed 12 times, and that's fucked up, to tell you the story, I guess they invited a distant relative to stay with them for a while. And I believe it was the kid that used to stand out front with like this black hoodie. And I'd drive by and he'd just look at me funny. And he'd like be walking around by the property. Total sus. And then I found out, I think it was him. They got into a dispute sometime in the early morning. He got stabbed. I don't know. I'm sure I'll talk to him about it. But my empathy goes out to anybody who's hurt in any way. Even people that I don't know. Even people that I've never met. Or just a neighbor that I don't know very well. But it really sucks that we have a society that I can't say that people suffer in, because suffering is part of joy. I don't know. It's really hard to define these things. Really hard to define those things. Altruism, says Nemesis Breaks. Indeed, altruism is... I wanted to maybe cover that as well, but altruism is selfish. I'll just put those three words together. And I know I'm going to have to explain myself on that. Altruism, by definition, of course, is helping other people, but doing so for the sake of just helping other people, right? It's not a transaction, but there is a transaction going on because we feel good about it. But it's a good transaction. It's a safe transaction. You help somebody else out, you feel good about it, they feel good about it. That's great. The exact opposite is harming someone else. They feel bad about it, and you feel bad about it, usually. If you're a decent person, if you're a complete shitbag and you have no emotion towards other people, I don't care if you're a psychopath or a sociopath or whatever term people want to put on it. I feel like the people in society who don't understand emotion are really probably the biggest part of the problem we have. Those who don't have that inner voice to say, whoa, this is corrupt, this is wrong, I can't do this. People who are willing to turn a blind eye to make a buck. And I would rather come home at the end of the day knowing I did the right thing and I was honest than to be wealthy and screw even one person over for money. It's pathetic that people do that shit. It really is. Yeah. Jason says, acid was great. Eating a bag of shrooms for the first time was an amazing experience. My friend and I split a half ounce of mushrooms a few years back, laid under the stars in like our sleeping bags, and just, I've never tripped that hard. It was amazing. I've got to do that again. I agree with you, Jason. They should legalize all drugs. He says, I ran out of oxy, but the kratom seems weaker. You know what? Dude, I'm with you on that. Kratom is weak. But I'll tell you, I'm taking the same kratom I ordered probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. So, I mean, most of my subscribers know I was a kratom vendor for 5-6 years. And the kratom I was getting at the beginning was so top notch. I was actually paying $300 a kilo, my cost for my high-end kratom, and selling it for a little more. But even though people complained about the price being too high, I felt bad about it, even though I was still paying that much. But it was so good. You know, it's kind of like buying the super boutique buds. But eventually all the kratom started to go downhill. But also I kind of lost interest in it. I realized I use kratom to motivate and to help my mood, because look, I get depressed, I get anxious like anybody else, and I lack motivation to do certain things, and kratom was assisting me with that. I was making pretty decent money as a kratom vendor, and then I quit last year and started working building the tiny houses. And the reason I did that was because I didn't have my heart in it. I don't want to be a merchant or a reseller. I will still buy it, and I'll still sell it when I go to like dead shows, or when I go on tour this year. I'm probably going to buy like, I don't know, I have like 10 or 20 kilos of this like extracted mixed blend left, but I don't know what to do with it because I don't like it. Flavor's not that good, and it's not even that potent. So one time I had like 50 kilos seized by the DEA at the border that was being imported and mislabeled. I went through so much shit as a kratom vendor. But yeah, it's a really useful plant. I very much enjoy it. And I've still been taking it almost 12 years later. Wait, 14 years later? Oh my God, goes by so fast. It's crazy. But I've cut my dose way down and I don't take nearly as much as I did. And I've done that with all the substances. Cannabis, I have a limited intake of cannabis. I want to urge people to be very responsible with drugs. It sounds stupid, but more is not better. It's very rarely better. Less is always more with substances. Um, Unless you're trying to go deep in a psychedelic journey. So, whoop, read through the comment real quick here, see if anybody else. He said he switched to kratom. Yeah, I agree. Casey says a lot of people get addicted to it, but it affects everyone differently. Yes, it does. Just like everything does. Just like our perceptions are different, and we can't acknowledge that everybody sees and feels things differently, and that makes it very hard to see how to deal with these differences of opinions that people have about everything. Jackass says, you mentioned Gorilla Glue. Yes, that's what I'm smoking right now. I have a fresh bowl loaded. And, oof, it's a deep bowl because I broke my other one, so it's hard to get the flame all the way down there, so I just have to load it really high. I generally only smoke a couple bowls a day, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. I guess I can't really smoke on camera because that would make it 18 plus, right? So I'm going to step off camera for a minute. First, I'll read the rest. Why does kratom suck these days? The kratom sucks these days because back in the day was when we started it. Kratom was usually harvested from old growth trees. That's what Meng Da was. It was translated like pimp's kratom. It was from the old growth trees. What happened was the kratom market got flooded. Everybody got into it. All the old trees were stripped, and then people started planting them. And by the time 2018 rolled around, everybody was growing these little plantations and harvesting young leaves, which weren't matured yet, didn't have the same profile or the same alkaloids, and probably not only the same potency, but probably contained various pesticides and other things, and it became a nightmare. The golden age of kratom is over, but if you know the right people, you can get a hold of it. But yes, it's definitely helpful. I need to step up with the Gorilla Glue right now. So I'm going to flip to, what do we got? As I said, speak your truth. What do we got on the next one? No self-pity. Oh, that's the next topic. That's going to be great. No self-pity. I fucking hate victims. I'm sorry to put it that way, but I cannot stand people who play the victim. I've had some rough times in my life. I've had some difficult moments. Just like we all have, and I'm not going to say my problems have even been nearly as difficult as some people's. But some people, they want to use their problems as their identity. And that's just not right. I guess a perfect example would be addicts, drug addicts. There were times in my life where I could have ended up being an addict. But I quit what I was using because I realized what it was doing. And I didn't want to sacrifice my future and my ability to have a family and a life to use a substance that will bring me no joy in the long term. And many people are aware of this, yet they do choose the drug. And then they lose everything they have. And then they want pity because they're a quote addict. I don't have that pity. I have sympathy. I have empathy. I understand people need help. But if they're unwilling to get it, there's only so far you can take that. And it sucks because the reason it seems so blunt and blatant is because I have to reserve my empathy for people who deserve it. And if we start losing our empathy for others, we basically lose everything. You can hear that's a very functional bong, ain't it? It's got a hell of a chamber on it. I think it was a freebie. I don't remember where I got it. I guess something happened and I got cut off. As I was saying, Jackass says the journey is far more important than the goal. And absolutely right. And that can revert back to what I said earlier about going on a trip, on a vacation or something. And it's different if you're going on a drive to see the scenery than if you're driving to a place. But why not do both? When you're driving to a place, don't be in a hurry to get there, but enjoy the trip. And next thing you know, you'll be there and you'll be able to enjoy the trip as well. This is what life should be like. It really should be. Jason says, attention seekers, people who cry wolf, one day it's going to bite them in the ass, because in life you should not be seeking pity. You should be worrying about taking care of yourself and loving yourself. Amen. Amen, my friend. And we should talk about that. As we said, dang, keeps disconnecting. I don't know why my phone keeps disconnecting, but it's just one of those deals. So no self-pity means no self-pity, and I think we've covered that well. Just don't expect other people to sympathize with your cause. I think we've seen this a lot. I don't even want to touch on this topic, and I'm not sure even how to really address it. I need to vape real quick. Sounds harsh, but I do. So, with the woke, if you want to call it that, it's the only definition I can think of is the woke culture, as people call it. I hate that term. My friend and I were talking about that the other day, and he was saying, well, woke originally meant, that you were aware of social injustices and wanted to see them, people have equal treatment, which seems like something to me that almost all people believe in, right? Well, I guess it cut off. I don't know where it cut off, but I'm going to start over here. As I said, I'm not going to get into the whole discussion about this, but the term woke was co-opted. Consider it, as I was said, neo-wokeism. And it's this idea that originally the term was from the black community, realizing injustices, recognizing the corruption and abuse from the police, things that people really do. But the police have ended up getting the worst rap, right? Everybody's a victim now, right? And everybody wants to blame somebody else for their problems. I'm trying to think of how to word this now. I guess that bong hit kind of got me, didn't it? Oof. Damn it. It's like my internet just keeps cutting out. It really sucks when that happens. I think it's been happening ever since I switched over. Anyway, so I don't like to complain about the small things, like what other people do, what other people complain about, but there are very small voices that make a loud sound, or small groups. When I say minority groups, I don't mean racial minorities. I mean small groups of people who can use the internet to amplify their voices and pretend like things are bigger than they are. Just think about, people spreading this quantum scalar energy bullshit all over the place, believing that they can heal you remotely if you just send them a picture. Oh, and $5,000. There's a lot of scamming going on. There are a lot of thieves. There's a lot of problems, but ultimately I do believe that most people are good. Most people mean well, and I want to be able to trust in other folks. And so therefore I kind of let my guard down a lot. I try to be as kind as I can to everyone around me. I try to be patient. I try to not get angry with folks. And sometimes that can be difficult. Like I'm driving to work and I'm thinking about life in general. Just like, what is this all about? I mean, I like to work, but I would like to do the work I want to do. And that, I guess, brings me to like the Wisecrack, that channel. As I mentioned, he actually had a video I watched earlier that was about, are we obsessed with work culture? And what's with this hustle culture crap? Why do people feel like they need to always be growing and getting more? Where does this come from? This wasn't always the way that things were. Things have changed over time. There was a time where people could appreciate the leisure time. Maybe it would come in the winter. These days it's just go, go, go. It's a constant push to do more and more and more and be better, better, better. It's sad because we're all wrapped up in it. I want to say my personal goal, I'm forced into this paradigm where in order to get the things you want, you have to make enough money to do it. Example would be in the past, perhaps I could go out and get some land and just find some land I wanted to take over and build a homestead. These days you can't do that. You have to buy the land. So I'm trying to earn money, my wife and I, to buy a piece of land so we can do the things we want. But our dream doesn't include fanciness or buying things. It's about experiences and places. Hopefully you know what I mean. I know that a lot of folks buy brand name merchandise and they want to show off labels and they want people to know that they have money, or even worse, think that they have money. I didn't even realize that there was an entire trend of people wearing rich people clothes to appear rich. And then the rich people get upset about people wearing the brand names they wear. And this is a real thing that's going on. There are people out there who think spending $500 on a pair of jeans is going to make them a better person or more popular or cooler. Consumer society. We've lost our fucking minds. And I know, and I agree to each his own. Each person should be able to do what they choose with what they choose to do it with. If you've got money, you can spend it any way you like. Money isn't the problem. It's the time people spend on endeavors that aren't really improving anything. If you think about all the garbage and throwaway junk that people invent out there for a quick buck, and all the resources and all the propaganda behind the shit they're trying to sell you, it's hard not to just shake your head and want to just bow out and kind of, I'm going over here. And that's, I guess, what I wanted to do by buying land. It's not that I hate people, it's just that I hate people. You know what I mean? I appreciate. I can't believe this phone just keeps dying. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to say I appreciate being a human. And, no, it says I've still got battery life, so I don't know what's up. I'll go back to the comments here. Ha! Nemesis, I want to go back to white picket fences. It's actually, it's funny because I've got the 3 kids and the dog and the wife and the, I don't have a white picket fence, but I've thought about putting one up just as kind of a nod to the joke. But Dolphin Dreams, it's good to see you. Basically, I'm working myself and be a better person. Hell yeah. There's lots of jobs out there, that's for sure. So yeah, we're living in kind of a stupid technology. Keeps cutting out on me. We're living in a post-reality society where basically alternative facts aren't something that we joke about, but rather something that literally the president's assistant or speaker, whatever, said. Like, alternative facts was actual term. It's something I'll never get out of my head because it was kind of this turning point. People are able to make up whatever bullshit story they want, and people will believe it. And it's always been this way. It's always going to be this way. And I'm not going to try to convince anyone that other people are wrong. If somebody's trying to sell you quantum healing and crystals, go ahead, go for it. All I want to say on that note is caveat emptor, buyer beware. Buyer beware has always been an important thing to remember, and if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Nobody's trying to give you anything for free. It's very rare. When it happens, you know, but it's usually on an individual level. There's always something behind the curtain. And that may sound sus, like just being suspicious of everything. But, hey, it is what it is. We never went through our cards. Scrutinize your world and mind. Don't bully yourself or others. That's important. Beware of social structures. I like that one too. Integrity inspires others. So try to have integrity. And that just simply means to integrate yourself. Integrity has nothing to do with wearing a bow tie. Be known for good things. I guess that goes back to my old what is good, right? I'm going to talk about that one last. Everybody covets something. So covet love. Let your emotions flow. Be honest. That's a tough one for a lot of people. People do not want to share how they really truly feel. In fact, if you want to shut somebody up really quick, a narcissist or, so many different people I've met in my life who you just tell them, dude, I'm worried about you, or I just want to understand the situation. It's like they can't even talk about things. Anytime it gets emotional, people are out. It's a good way out of a bad discussion. But this one I need to really talk about. Pacifism is not. What do I mean by that? Being a pacifist means that you are opposed to war and violence in any context. And there's no way around that. You can't change the definition and say, well, no, it just means you're kind of peaceful when you need to be, or you don't go to war, No, it literally means you're a pacifist, means that you will not commit violence against people for any reason. And I don't think there are many people out there like that. And because if somebody broke into my house then tried to harm my family, it would be curtains for them. And I think most people agree on that and feel the same way. Pacifism is a comfort that's only awarded to those who have never suffered any type of catastrophe. And I'm getting really tired of this thing cutting off. I really hate the internet. I bet everybody else is just using it, but my router's really far away, and I'm doing this way out in my office. I bet if I open the door, it would give me a better signal. A little bit, maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, as I said, I should probably go, but I'm not going to go yet because I'm enjoying myself with you all, and I appreciate you coming. Who we got? Be4 Stable. Thumbs up. Have a great evening. Thank you. Lonnie says, first time I took shrooms, me and two college buddies split on now it's 3 ways. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. That's a potent one. 119,000. I bought my 900 square foot. Oh, that's funny, jackass. That's so funny you say, because I actually bought my house. And it's funny, dude, 900 square foot house for 119,000. We bought our house in 2004, my wife and I, on a stated income. We got lucky enough to be able to purchase. We were, of course, still making the payments. But we paid, I think, 125,000 for this house, so a little more than you. And it's about 950 square feet, I want to say. Maybe 1,000, but that's not with the garage. So the garage where I'm at right now adds, a few more 100 square feet on it. So at least I can set up my shop and build it into a living room and my office where I keep my records and all that shit. It's just the sound of me typing. I'm just typing out a message. on my speaking of television, sorry, telegraph lines. Now I'm getting baked. It's probably time to go. Um, I've enjoyed watching the sun go into its maximum, which I believe peaks in 2025, and the sun goes through 11-year cycles approximately, and we have just come out of a minimum. We've been going into the maximum now, and we've had a lot of interesting solar flares lately, and CMEs, radio blackout yesterday, I think, over a whole bunch of areas, high frequency. The aurora was seen as far as Arizona a few weeks ago, and it reminded me of the Carrington event, which happened in 1859, which Carrington discovered these sunspots had caused these solar eruptions, and it basically lit telegraph. It's frustrating having to restart this every minute, but I'm going to keep doing it. Uh, you basically some of the telegraph stations caught on fire, and at the same time they were able to, even with the batteries disconnected and the electricity, they were able to send signals, because the storm was big. And if the same thing happened today, then it would do severe damage to the long transmission lines that we have. We could stabilize the grid for like 5 billion, but we haven't done it. But it wouldn't matter because it could blow out circuit boards and chips and basically cause ground currents everywhere, which would be pretty fucked up. But, it's just like anything else. There could be an asteroid impact. There could be this. There could be that. But it's pretty damn certain that the sun's going to spit something out one day that's going to affect our lives. So be aware of that. That's all. Uh, hmm, hmm, yeah. It's too bad that doing live casts comes across so grainy, at least on the device I'm using. Hmm. The bubbler. So yeah, I guess I should finish this up and just say I don't know what the hell to do about the problem we have with people, with society, with each other, the way that people have been treating one another, how we can't tolerate totally, other groups of people. I would hope anyone out there watching would just be aware that respect for one another is extremely important. And regardless of how you feel about the world around you, and it differs from somebody else's opinion, be okay with that. There are certain things that we just can't tolerate, of course, but being human is difficult, and we navigate it the best way we can. So, anyway, thanks for coming along. I guess I'm getting cut off on my internet connection, so thank you all. Appreciate you. And thanks for the donation, Jackass Whiskey. I appreciate that. He says you can get a northern Minnesota for 120,000, but you don't like snow. No, I love snow. I love snow. Actually, uh, I have no problem with snow. I've been looking in various places. Dude, I live in Washington State. We don't get a whole lot of snow, but the mountains we do. And I always get excited when it snows here. But I don't like it when it snows all the time or all winter. So anyway, there I got cut off again. I don't know why that keeps happening. Much love. Thank you to you all. I appreciate you coming to my live cast. Next time, I think I'll set one up and I'll let you know further ahead of time. And be well. Take care of each other. Take a deep breath. Don't take shit too seriously. Don't take life too seriously because it won't return the favor. Peace out. For real.